Excuse me 1 minute. Well, I feel mildly nauseous, and my mouth tastes like vomit. Must be time to talk about Batwoman again. A quick addendum to the review of episode 3 before I get started here. I put this in the comments and in the description box of the last video, but just to reiterate, when I said that the scene in the climax of episode 3 where it looked like Batwoman saved herself and let the elevator with her parents in it drop, so she was presumably leaving her parents to die, turns out I got that one wrong. Apparently I mixed up the elevators. Kate's parents were in the first elevator that she saved with the grappling hook, and the second explosion took out a different elevator, and that's the one that Kate didn't bother with. The thing is, though, Kate had no idea if there were people in any of those elevators. The one she saved having her parents in it was a complete coincidence. The elevator that she let drop could very well have had people in it for all she knew, and if she did, those people are dead now, because Batwoman didn't try to save them and just let the elevator crash to the bottom floor. So yes, I got the elevators mixed up. I'm sorry. But that doesn't change anything. There was still an elevator that crashed, and that elevator may have had innocent people inside. We don't know if it did or not. And Kate didn't know either. That's the problem. She just didn't care. So I screwed up some of the details, but Batwoman was still being incredibly careless and thoughtless when it comes to saving lives, so the end result is still the same. Batwoman is horrible. And speaking of the worst costumed crime fighter to disgrace our TV screen since Barry fucking Allen, let's examine Greg Berlanti's latest attempt to convince me to chug that bottle of Drano under my kitchen sink. This episode puts us back in the same territory as the pilot, in that it wasn't agonizingly painful to sit through exactly, it was just really lame and really boring. So it's good that at least there was less to rage about this week, but that's about as positive as this review is going to get. I'll say this for it though, we took a step closer to so bad it's funny territory here. But as usual, we're going to have to wade through a lot of crap to get to that. So strap in as we deep dive into Batwoman Episode 4, Who Are You? A question I ask myself every time I sit down and talk about this shit show. The episode starts with a museum robbery, and I was wrong about the girl in the promos last week. Turns out she's not some thinly veiled Catwoman knockoff. She's a cat burglar and a jewel thief, just like Catwoman. She has claws, which she uses to steal things, just like Catwoman. But instead of a cat gimmick, she has a bird gimmick. So that makes it totally unique and not a Catwoman ripoff at all. This is the DC villain Magpie, who apparently was sitting on the crapper when they were handing out supervillain names. I don't know anything about Magpie, but wow, they must have been seriously pranking the actress when they designed this character, because even by CW standards, her suit looks like embarrassingly bad cosplay. She's got this bright blue wig, which I'm sure is just perfect when you're trying not to be seen while you're robbing a place, and her claws are like these gigantic curved L'Oreal press-on nails that are like 2 inches long. How does she do anything with those things? How does she even make a fist? Well, don't worry, because that never comes up, even though she has a fight scene with Batwoman at one point. She steals some huge fuck-off jewel from a museum, and that's the teaser. So yeah, this week Batwoman is facing an animal-themed jewel thief. Where did the writers get these incredibly original ideas? Apparently Magpie has been on this big crime spree lately, and she's been getting away with everything because instead of trying to track her down, Kate has been screwing around with her new girlfriend. That's the bartender from last week. That's right, so heartbroken over Sophie was Kate that she instantly jumped into bed with this chick that she's known for about 2 minutes. If the writers wanted to make us give a shit about the Kate Sophie will they won't they, this was not the way to do it. So Kate gets a text from Luke and has to bail on her new squeeze, and she narrates / virtue signals that she doesn't hide who she is. That's why she's always been out and proud. Ever since some jerk back in school outed her to everyone while she was still in the closet. And this is becoming an issue because now that she's Batwoman, she has to hide who she is, and that's not the way she likes to live her life because she's not a liar. Don't worry, Kate, that much will be made very clear a little bit later. So she goes to Bruce's office where some PR people are taking pictures of Martha Wayne's necklace, which Kate is loaning to a museum for some charity fundraiser. How does Kate have the legal authority to do that? I guess this means that Kate is in charge of the Wayne estate somehow, but if she is, this is the first I'm hearing of it. And if she is, then who was in charge of it while Kate was off living in Greenland for like 5 years? Wouldn't something like this be Bruce's call? If Bruce was dead, that would be one thing, but it's acknowledged in the show that Bruce is still alive wherever he is, so I guess Kate is just loaning out Bruce's property now and hoping he's okay with it? Because she already co-opted all his crime-fighting gear and his headquarters, so why stop there? Anyway, the reason Luke texted her involves Traitor Crow Guy. I still don't know his name. But more important than his name is that Kate is still holding him prisoner until he gives her information on Alice's grand plan and denying him basic human necessities like water and medical attention for that stab wound he got on his leg 2 weeks ago, because when we see him, he is unconscious, dehydrated, septic, and close to death. And since he can't tell Kate anything about Alice if he's dead, then I don't know what the hell Kate's plan was here, but it's safe to say that her plan sucks. And once again, I have to point out, just for the record, that Kate wouldn't need information on Alice if the dumb f*** had just captured Alice last week when she had not one, but 2 opportunities to do so, but instead she just let Alice walk away both times. Which is about to become a really infuriating habit of Kate's when it comes to supervillains, as we'll soon see. So Luke tries to convince Kate that her prisoner might need medical attention before he, dies. And Kate gets all bitchy about it like, God, Luke, were you this annoying when Batman took people prisoner? Well, no, Kate. He wouldn't have needed to be. Because Batman actually cares about things like justice, and the law, and the preservation of life. Even the lives of bad people. So Batman would not have put a prisoner's life in danger in the first place. That's why he's a hero, and you're a schmuck. F*** you, Kate. But then an alarm goes off, signaling that Traitor Crow Guy has taken a turn for the worst. So finally Kate decides that their only current lead on Alice dying on her watch might actually be a bad thing. So she begrudgingly goes to get some help. She takes him to Mary's illegal underground medical clinic and just leaves him with Mary. And even though this is the guy who tried to kill her 2 weeks ago, Mary is okay with this because OMG, Batwoman is so cool, you guys! I'm paraphrasing, but not that much. Mary examines him and determines that his stab wound is so grossly infected that he's close to death and might not even survive. I would think that if his condition is that serious, then Mary ought to take this man to a real hospital with a staff more experienced and qualified to handle this sort of thing than her, but I guess that Hippocratic oath hasn't kicked in quite yet. So because, f*** it, it's in the script, now it's up to Mary, a second-year med student in an illegal clinic that is probably short on medical supplies and proper equipment, to save this dying man. But Kate doesn't really give a shit about that, so she just f***s off. Have I mentioned that I don't like Kate very much? We cut to a graveyard where the stepmom is digging up Beth's grave. Apparently when Alice snuck into their apartment last week, she left some clues that led the stepmom here. It's anyone's guess why she's digging up the grave since she knows Beth isn't in there, but whatever. Alice shows up and the two of them have a little chat. Alice wants something from her because the stepmom, and I quote, owns one of the largest defense companies in the country. And holy shit, that is a pretty big detail to just spring on the audience from out of nowhere. Her company built something that Alice wants, some kind of weapon I guess, and if she gives it to Alice, then Alice promises to keep the grave robbing thing a secret, and she won't tell the dad that the stepmom is the one who convinced him that Beth was dead. Which seemed really weird to me. I mean, if she convinced him, then wouldn't he know that she convinced him? I don't know. But this scene made me realize why I like Alice. And it isn't because the actress's performance is good. It's not. At first I thought it was because the actress at least gave a shit about what she was doing, but I was wrong. It's because she doesn't. I'm watching this scene, and the stepmom is being really quiet, reserved, and stoic, while Alice is like, "Everyone look at me! I'm Alice! Look how wacky my performance is! Ah!" And it suddenly dawned on me. Alice is like Chris Evans in the Tim Story Fantastic Four movies, where he's the only one who seems to realize what massive pieces of shit those things are, so he's just acting really goofy and off the wall to entertain himself, not taking anything seriously, while all the other poor bastards in the cast are playing it straight. Which is why Chris Evans was like the only person who came out of those garbage fire movies unscathed. That's what she's doing. The actress is pulling a Chris Evans here. And you know what? In a weird way, I kind of have to respect her for it, because she's the only one who seems to be in on the joke right now. She's the only one who recognizes how bad this show is, and she's like, man, if I gotta put myself through this crap, at least let me have fun with it. Otherwise, what's the point? So anyway, Kate decides that she needs to restore Gotham's faith in the Bat by catching this jewel thief. You know, since doing that by stopping Alice the multiple murderer last week was not an option, because the writers of this show are very, very bad. Kate and Luke figure out Magpie's next target, so she scopes out this new museum and she's ready when Magpie shows up. They have a fight. Once again, it's the only fight scene in the entire episode. It lasts probably less than 60 seconds. It's pretty bad. It's one of those really dumb stop-and-start fights that bad shows love to do, where they'll throw like 2 punches and a kick, and then they'll stop fighting and talk for a minute, and then throw another punch or two, and then stop fighting and talk again. It's not good at all. I think the production team has definitely realized that action scenes are not something they do well, so they're trying to minimize them as much as possible. So this is mercifully brief, and it ends with Magpie crashing through a window to escape, and then Kate throws a batarang at her, but it misses. And when it comes back at Kate, she has butterfingers and can't catch it, and it smashes some priceless museum artifact. And then the scene just ends. Batwoman doesn't chase after Magpie, doesn't try to run her down or catch her with the grappling hook or anything, even though Magpie can't be more than 20 yards away at most. Batwoman just stands there like a jackass and lets Magpie escape. And why? Well, because if she didn't, then they'd have no way to fill the next half hour of runtime. But since there's no in-episode reason for why Batwoman cannot chase after Magpie, it just looks like she chooses not to because she didn't feel like it. And that's not a reason. That's just a bunch of bullshit. F*** you, Kate. Afterward, Luke is grilling Kate about the Batarang, and Kate just thinks it's broken. Of course, right? I mean, the problem couldn't be that she made a mistake because she didn't train or practice with the Batarang whatsoever, but Luke thinks the much more likely explanation is that she just f***ed up. So, naturally, being the strong, independent woman that Kate is, she takes offense at this and accuses him of Bat-Splaining. Bat-Splaining. And wouldn't you know it, we find out later on that Kate was right. Yeah, the reason she didn't use the Batarang absolutely perfectly on her very first try is because it was calibrated for Bruce, and Luke forgot to recalibrate it for Kate. So you see, it was actually Luke's fault the whole time. What the fuck is this? It's a fucking boomerang. You throw the goddamn thing and it comes back at you. You're not launching the fucking space shuttle here. Either you catch it or you don't. What is this calibrating bullshit? Were you really so desperate for Kate to not look like a doofus trying to use a weapon that she's never used before that you had to invent new technology just so its failure could be a man's fault instead? F*** you. Anyway, Kate pulled some bird-shaped grenades off of Magpie's belt, and Luke immediately gets to work on figuring out where they came from while Kate f***s off to see her girlfriend. We cut to the dad, who is starting to have serious doubts about Alice because when she called him last week, she played some music on a cello that was Beth's favorite piece, but Sophie walks in, announcing that the bomb that blew up the police van transporting Alice in the second episode came from the stepmom's company. So that whole storyline is still a complete mess, but at least they're trying to do something with it and making some attempts at continuity here. It's still bad, but so far they're not taking the easy way out and just retconning the whole thing. Except the crooked cops who tried to murder Alice and Batwoman live on the news and apparently got off scot-free with no repercussions. That, it seems, we're just forgetting about. Then Magpie invades Bruce's office, takes out Luke, because he's a man, which means he's not allowed to put up a fight, and she steals Martha Wayne's necklace. Why is Wayne Enterprises so easy to break into? We're 4 episodes in and this has already happened 3 times. It's becoming a running joke. Considering the entrance to the Batcave is in this very office, I would think you'd at least want to make it a little bit more secure than fucking Star Labs, which doesn't even seem to have locks on the doors for God's sake. Is there any security in this company at all? When Kate shows up, Luke tells her that he analyzed Magpie's grenades and has determined that they use exploding ink. Just go with it. Since the Crows monitor all the munitions coming in and out of the city, they might have information on this, but Kate doesn't want to go to Sophie because it's really awkward with her, but then Luke tells her to cut the shit, and shockingly she actually listens to him for once. So Kate talks to Sophie. There's more tension-free romantic tension, but the upshot is that Sophie thinks Kate is Batwoman, and Kate realizes that's because she kinda sucks at hiding it. So maybe she's slightly more self-aware than Supergirl? That's something, I guess. Meanwhile, the stepmom has sent some hired goons to deal with Alice, and they find Alice's hideout really easily. Apparently they just asked around on the street and found her just like that. So I have to ask, if it was that fucking easy to find Alice this whole time, then why can't the Crows find her? Why can't the police find her? Why can't Batwoman find her? Why do these low-level thugs have more on the ball than our main character and the entire law enforcement community all of a sudden? But Alice was ready and waiting for them. Her gang takes these guys out, and just to prove that she's serious, she cuts off one of their fingers with pruning shears. So that's another person who's directly come to harm because Kate didn't capture Alice when she had the chance. I feel like this is something we should be keeping track of for future reference. So let's go ahead and start that tally. So while this is happening, Kate and Luke have found Magpie's hideout, but she has this laughably high-tech security system where the whole thing is in this climate-controlled freezer, and if the temperature changes even slightly when someone walks in, the whole thing explodes. But they're in luck, because the Batsuit just happens to have the ability to control the body temperature of the person wearing it. Just go with it. So this means that they can instantly lower Kate's body temperature, to freezing, mind you, in order to match the temperature of the room. That sounds like it could very easily cause massive shock and tissue damage to the person wearing the Batsuit, if not be, you know, fatal. But Kate's only reaction to it is, that's uncomfortably cold. So she finds all the stuff Magpie stole, finds Martha's necklace, she clones Magpie's hard drive while she's in there, really taking her time doing all this stuff, even though she can't breathe and her core temperature is almost surely at levels that would kill a normal human being. But f*** that noise, the important thing is that she sneezes, because that's supposed to be funny somehow, and that sets off a bomb. She escapes, but Magpie's lair gets blown up. It gets worse. Later on, Batwoman's staking out the fundraiser because they think Magpie might show up there. But her new girlfriend shows up because Kate had previously invited her, so Kate blows off the stakeout to go hang out with her girlfriend because this is the CW, and they think irresponsible shit like that makes Kate a cool, awesome rebel who bucks the system and plays by her own rules. But it doesn't. It just makes her an asshole. So, of course, the first thing that happens is that Kate and the girlfriend run into Sophie, who's working security. And it's supposed to be this really loaded, oh no, my girlfriend is meeting my ex thing that's filled with romantic tension, but really, it's just 3 actresses awkwardly standing around like... But the fundraiser eventually kicks off, and apparently the centerpiece of the whole evening was the unveiling of Martha Wayne's necklace. And they make a really big deal out of this, but it's just a pearl necklace. It looks like every other pearl necklace you've ever seen. I don't know why this is supposed to be so special. But since Kate and Luke now have the real necklace, they realize that this necklace is actually not made of pearls, but bombs. Bombs that Magpie made to look like pearls with a 3D printer that prints with exploding ink. Just fucking go with it. So Kate excuses herself and slips away. Now, it seems to me that the best way to handle this situation would be to simply pull the fire alarm. So all the innocent bystanders would have to evacuate the building. That would get them away from the bombs quickly, easily, and in an orderly fashion. And in fact, the fire alarm does go off. But it's Magpie who pulls it, not Kate. So in this moment, the villain cares more about the safety of these innocent bystanders than Batwoman does, even though the villain is the one who put them in danger in the first place. So as Magpie is doing this, Kate goes to put the batsuit on, and then decides to go look for Magpie while this huge group of people, including her girlfriend and her ex-girlfriend, are in danger of getting blown up by this necklace made of bombs that could explode at any moment. They're still in the same room as these bombs. They are very much in danger. Kate has no idea if these bombs are on a timer or what. All she knows is that there's a shitload of bombs that are about to explode and kill all these people, and instead of getting them away from the bombs before the fucking things go off, Kate goes to find the Jewel Thief cosplayer instead. Fuck you, Kate. So it's not until after Kate finds Magpie trying to steal some more crap that Magpie actually detonates the bombs. Before her and Batwoman can have another fight scene, of course, because why would fans want to see stupid shit like action in a comic book show? What happens next is the closest Batwoman has come yet to so bad it's funny territory. If the show went more in this direction, it might be a lot more entertaining, but this is the best we've got right now. And I definitely laughed, I'll say that, because... oh my god. So the bombs start going off. The pearls all come off the necklace, they fall to the floor, and they start exploding. But they all explode at different times, one by one, because... fuck it, the script says so. So Batwoman has to go and deal with these bombs. But conveniently, not a single one of these people has gotten hurt before she arrives, even though you can clearly see some of the explosions going off right next to them. So Batwoman jumps in, and somehow... some way, she manages to cover every single explosion with her cape, like she can see the future and knows exactly when each and every one is gonna go off, and as if by fucking magic, the cape completely smothers the explosion every single time. And I don't mean that it barely contains the explosions, I mean it reduces the explosions to a CG light show, because that's all they are. These terrible, ridiculous, fake-ass explosions that look like they were made with Adobe After Effects in about 5 minutes. She puts up the cape, an explosion goes off right in front of it, and the cape is not disturbed at all. It's not even ruffled. I mean, you could blow on the fucking cape and it would have moved more. It's absolutely pathetic how stupid and fake this whole thing looks. And then, one of the pearls rolls out the exit door where some of the people are gathering, and a little kid picks it up. And for some reason, bless her heart, the kid is really excited about this thing, and she's like, "Mommy, look! I found a marble!" And she holds up the bomb like this. And so Kate, she takes the Batarang, which is now calibrated for her, remember, she throws this fucking thing like 50 feet, and with pinpoint accuracy, it snatches the tiny bomb out of this little girl's hand, somehow without tearing the kid's fingers off in the process, even though the Batarang is way too big to have pulled that off. Then the Batarang carries the bomb way up into the air. Batwoman leaps in, covers the little girl with her cape, but the bomb is like 30 or 40 yards away as it goes off, and the blast radius of each of these bombs is like 1.5 feet, so she just looks like a total jackass. This entire sequence was so fucking preposterous, I couldn't even believe what I was watching, but I have to admit, it was funny. It wasn't supposed to be, but for a minute there, I was laughing my ass off. And then to cap off this farce, Batwoman sees Magpie trying to escape by scaling this building on the other side of the street. So she shoots the grapple gun at her, which naturally begs the question of why the hell she couldn't have done that the first time they fought. She yanks Magpie off the building. Magpie falls about 7 stories, lands in a fountain of water that's maybe 2 feet deep at most, not nearly enough to cushion her fall, so by all rights, they should be scraping Magpie off the fucking pavement. No normal human survives a fall like this. No one. But Magpie is a woman, and lest we forget, women are indestructible on this show, so she's totally fine. Doesn't need medical attention, she's not even bruised. After falling off a 7-story building. F*** this show. So the Crows round up Magpie, and they mention that they're taking her to Blackgate, not Arkham, meaning that prisons do still exist in Gotham City? So I guess that due process thing happens on a case-by-case basis now. But before they take her away, Kate recognizes Magpie as the photographer who was shooting the pearl necklace at the beginning of the episode. And yeah, I mean, that's hardly surprising. Magpie was either going to be the photographer or the girlfriend, so it comes off like a really half-assed Scooby-Doo episode where the twist is that the monster was the creepy janitor in a costume or something. And then Magpie has the balls to virtue signal to Kate on what I can only describe as Kate's rich girl privilege, and then tries to make us feel sorry for Magpie even though she just tried to murder a whole bunch of people because she was just doing what she had to do to survive. What a load of crap. Magpie had a whole lot of high-tech equipment and a secret base with a crazy elaborate security system that must have been really insanely expensive, not to mention that she somehow got trained to use all this stuff. I mean, she couldn't be that badly off if she had all that. But these are explanations the writers don't concern themselves with, I guess because cramming in some ham-fisted PSA was much more important. Get the f*** over it already. So Kate makes up some bullshit excuse about why she disappeared, but the girlfriend doesn't buy it because Kate really does suck at lying. She asks for honesty, but Kate can't give her that, so they break up. And I don't give one single shit. And Kate doesn't seem that bothered by the breakup either, so f*** it. The stepmom comes clean to the dad about what happened with Alice, and says she won't give Alice what she wants, but she does admit that she faked Beth's DNA evidence back in the day, so the skull fragments they found that they thought were Beth's were actually deer bones. And she did this because the dad and Kate were so obsessed with finding Beth, and this was supposedly to help them move on. And that raises some questions about the timeline. Like, exactly how close were her and the dad when this happened? Which was probably like a matter of weeks after his first wife died and Beth disappeared. Also, does this mean that the stepmom was the one who tried to murder Alice with a bomb in episode 2? Shouldn't she be getting arrested if that's the case? I mean, God, I'm so confused right now. But there's no time to hash all that out because Batwoman goes back to Mary's clinic. And apparently, Trader Crow Guy was like an hour away from dying when she brought him in. But so awesome of a doctor is second-year med student Mary that he's gonna be totally fine. They're just handing out medical miracles like candy this week. And Batwoman does admit that she was wrong and that she should have brought him in sooner. So she does have the ability to admit when she fucks up. She just can't do it to a man because feminism. Also, in his delirium, Trader Crow Guy mentioned that Alice was looking for a mouse. Whatever that means. So Batwoman tags him so they can release him back into the wild or some shit. Then Kate talks to Luke again, and in the span of one line, she says something to the effect of, "I know nothing about real estate, and also, I'm starting a real estate firm." So this is signifying that Kate is going to start trying to actually maintain her new double life, and that's going to be her cover, Real Estate Mogul. This is going to lead to a lot of Donald Trump potshots, I just know it. Then after Rachel Maddow on the news tells Batwoman to smile more, because somehow that's not sexist when a woman says it, the episode ends with Luke lighting up the bat signal, even though Batwoman is standing right next to him, so there's no need to signal her at all. So why does he do it? No reason. There's literally no reason whatsoever. They did it because they just thought it would look cool. But it doesn't. In context, it looks like exactly what it is. A shallow, pointless fucking glamour shot of Batwoman as if she actually sees the camera and is deliberately posing for it. It looks so fucking stupid. Which means that it fits right in with everything else that happened this week. Some TV shows go from strength to strength, or at least show improvement over time. But Batwoman seems to be doubling down on some things while easing away from other things completely at random. What bugged me the most about this episode was how they handled Kate. The writers seem to have no idea how they want to portray her. Sometimes they want her to be an actual character, albeit a horribly written one, and the rest of the time she's a woke SJW sock puppet. In one scene, Kate shows that she is capable of admitting her faults when she makes a mistake, but in another scene, she comes off as incredibly arrogant, irrational, and defensive when Luke suggests that maybe she didn't catch the Batarang because she just screwed up. And then later on, the show validates this behavior by revealing that Kate was right all along, despite her arrogance and irrationality, and Luke, the guy who came off as the smart, reasonable one in this situation, was actually the one who screwed up the whole time. Because obviously we can't have Luke be right about something after he had the audacity to Bat-Splain to her. That would just be insanity. Kate spends most of the episode acting like an immature brat who's putting her social life ahead of the crime fighting, but later decides that the crime fighting is more important. So this shows that she is a flawed person and has some growing up to do. But then the climax happens, and she stops these bombs with such laughable, immaculate precision, it's like she's not even fucking human. Which maybe was meant to counterbalance how Kate left all those innocent people in danger in the first place by going after Magpie instead of getting the bombs away from the crowd of people before they all died. But sadly, the one thing that is consistent with Kate's character is that the value she places on human life is flexible at best and non-existent at worst. So is Kate a flawed three-dimensional person, or is she Her Royal Highness Yas, the Queen of Slay? Which one is she supposed to be? I have no idea, because as a character, Kate is all over the place. The writers cannot make up their minds with her. Either lean into the cringe or lean away from the cringe, dudes. Pick one. You can't do both, because when you try to do both, all you accomplish is confusing the hell out of everyone watching. The supporting cast doesn't fare so well either. The villain of the week was a fucking joke, felt like a reject from the 1960s Adam West Batman show, and not in a good way. Luke Fox is basically Kate's bitch now, Sophie seems to have no identity outside of being Kate's ex, and Dougray Scott is barely awake at the best of times. If you want to hear about the good stuff, it's pretty slim pickings. I did kind of appreciate what they did with the stepmom. I was half expecting her to be the real big bad of the season, but then she went and confessed what she did to the dad, so maybe she isn't? That's a swerve, I guess? But really, the only thing that made this episode in any way enjoyable was the climax with the bombs. That entire sequence was hysterically absurd. I mean, it was far and away the stupidest fucking thing you'll see on TV this week. But I got a chuckle out of it. Batwoman dipped her toe in the so bad it's funny pool for just a minute, but it didn't last long enough to make a difference. If the entire show was like that, at least you could get some good belly laughs out of it, but as it is right now, they'll give you a little taste of being unintentionally hilarious, but then the show goes right back to just being painful to sit through. So yeah, this was another bad episode. Batwoman sucks. A lot. And because quality control is just a myth over at the CW, the network has now given the show a full season order. That'll be it for me, guys. I'm getting out of here. But while you're here, please comment your thoughts down below, like, share, subscribe to help me fight back the YouTube algorithm. Make sure you're still subscribed, because YouTube likes to randomly unsubscribe people from time to time. And don't forget to ding that bell icon and follow me on Twitter using the link in the description box down there so you'll always be notified when new videos get uploaded. That's all for now, but I'll be back soon. Over and out.